Hey y'all, welcome back to Twin Oaks Family Farm in rural Southeast Ohio, USA. This is our Watch It Later Wednesday video for September 18th, 2024. Thought we'd start the video off with a guessing game. So I've been over to town. Here you go, Tanner. I've been over to town for some errands, and I always find it interesting how the things that accumulate in our vehicles over a day's time are a good indicator of what we had going on that day. So based on what's in my front seat, I made 4 stops when I was running errands in town. So I wondered if you want to take a guess at what were the 4 stops I made in town when I was doing errands this morning. We live in a small community, rural Southeast Ohio, USA, and just a few miles from my home is the Muskingum River, and across the Muskingum River is a village. And so when we have errands to run, that's generally where we go to pick up odds and ends and get some of our business accomplished. So based on what's there in the front seat, what 4 errands do you think I ran this morning? So we're going to go ahead and step outside, and we'll take a walk out to the meat bird barn and finish up out there. Want to show you a truck that has just recently been acquired by one of our sons that's now parking its tires here at our little home place. And before we wrap up the video at the end, we'll show you the current flock of meat birds in that barn right there. We have 433 Cornish rock cross meat chickens in production for homegrown top quality poultry that we actually do market to clients in our area. So we'll do that. But on the Watch It Later list this week, I want to share with you some videos about food and about the ingredients in food. Hey y'all, it's Melissa. Thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoy the Watch Later Wednesday videos. For one thing, I'm working through the Watch Later list that I have on my YouTube app and watching some videos that at some point in time came across the feed as I was scrolling, and I thought, that looks interesting, I'll watch it later. And you know, I thought I'll watch it later like 203 times, because that Watch It Later list has just gotten huge. So I'm working my way through it, but I thought, gosh, it's fun to share some of those videos with y'all. Feel free to give us feedback. What's on your Watch Later list? Do you even use the Watch Later list on your YouTube app? So today's videos for Watch Later are all pretty much on the same channel. They are on a YouTube channel called Paul Saladino MD, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm mispronouncing it, it's completely unintentional. And the first video is called McDonald's Secret Ingredient You Never Knew About. This was an interesting video. It was about 14 minutes long. The video itself was uploaded about 6 months ago and has 3.8 million views approximately. Very interesting, because in the video what you see is Paul Saladino MD the host goes into a McDonald's and orders food, gets his order, is sitting down at a table, going through those foods and explaining to us the ingredients that are actually in those foods. So in the video, he features the Big Mac, chicken nuggets, McRibs, and fries. He also talks about some of the condiments like salt, ketchup, pickles, and cheese. And it's really an eye-opener. So I know here we have a McDonald's in that town just across the river, that little village just across the river as well. And there's one other fast food place there. There's several sit-down restaurants there, but I know fast food is just everywhere. And even though this video is specifically about McDonald's and fast food options there, even in the grocery store, like I'm getting this impression and this feeling that there's so many things that are ultra processed, just like what we are finding at fast food restaurants. And that's probably the main draw of a lot of these ultra processed food, is the quickness and the perceived convenience. But what we're trading off in it being fast to fix and easy to eat because it's in packages and it's easy to handle and we can have it on the go. What we are getting in that bargain, we're trading off something that is very costly to us, which in my opinion probably is our long-term health. So some takeaways from this video: McDonald's secret ingredient you never knew about on the specific foods that he featured. In the fries, how many ingredients are in the fries at XYZ fast food restaurant, any given fast food restaurant? Maybe the sit-down restaurants, I don't know. How many ingredients do you think should be in French fries? I'm maxing out at 3 or 4 personally. In my book, my opinion, 3 or 4. That's including the potatoes. The potatoes, the butter, some salt, maybe another seasoning. According to the host here in this video, McDonald's secret ingredient you never knew about, according to him, in the fries at McDonald's restaurants, there are 19 ingredients. You heard me right, friends. 19 ingredients. The salt, what should be in salt? Theoretically, salt, right? Salt should be in salt. Sodium chloride. The salt, apparently at McDonald's, according to the host of that video, has 3 ingredients. One of them is sugar. There's sugar in the salt. Who knew? Ketchup. Well, this does not surprise me. The host mentioned that the ketchup, probably the first ingredient, but he mentioned an ingredient in the ketchup is high fructose corn syrup. That doesn't surprise me because honestly, if you go to any major grocery store and you try to buy ketchup that doesn't have high fructose corn syrup, you probably have 1 or 2 options out of the 12 to 15 options that are on the shelf. Also, the pickles. He mentioned the pickles. How many ingredients should be in pickles? For any of y'all who've made pickles, preserved pickles, there really shouldn't be that many ingredients in just pickles. Just plain pickles. We're not putting other stuff with it, just plain pickles. 10 ingredients in the McDonald's pickles. And he gives us insight on the cheese on the Big Mac as well. More appropriately called a cheese product, a food product, a cheese-like product. So you have to watch the video to get more in depth on some of that, but he explains a lot of the technical things about the ingredients in these foods and brings them into relatable terms that, like, even I don't have a lot of the technical knowledge of, manufactured food, but he's able to speak it in relatable terms that I could understand. So my impression of the video overall was that it's very, very informative. Also, one of the things he mentioned about McDonald's specifically, the most popular menu item is the item that is worst for our health. So go figure. So what I like really well about the video then is at the end, the host tells us, how do we do this better? And actually walks through the obvious but worthwhile to point out steps of, how do we do this better? How do we circumvent the convenience and recognize a better way and compel ourselves to opt for a better way? And you'll find that something that he mentions is what things are cooked in, and he refers to tallow several times. And actually that brought to mind for me, if y'all want to look up a farm community called White Oak Pastures, I haven't had the opportunity to visit there or see there or even order any products from there, but I follow that online. White Oak Pastures, Bluffton, Georgia, and I've observed that one of the products they offer is beef tallow that they sell from their farm operations. So I'm going to check into that. Something that really made an impression on me connecting to my real life from this video, McDonald's secret ingredient you never knew about, was as the host was talking about what's in the McDonald's options, it just kept coming out how ultra processed it is. Ultra processed this, ultra processed that. And it to me mirrors a lot of, and I think I kind of alluded to this earlier, mirrors a lot of what's in the middle of the grocery stores. I don't know about you, but I have found recently that I have been really shopping the outer edge only of the grocery store for the most part, because what I'm picking up on, and what was kind of alluded to as well in this video, is that, you know, basically the ultra processed stuff is the stuff that is really wreaking havoc on our immune systems and on our wellness and on our, even our joints and our muscles. And if we can get those things out of our diet, out of what we're consuming, we're a lot healthier, and the body will even start to self-heal to some extent if we're eating whole foods, real foods that aren't hyper processed. Okay, so for me, what we're seeing as a phenomena in the fast food restaurant mentioned in the video, what we're seeing as a phenomena of ultra processed food, heavily preservative laden, a lot of additives in it, is mirroring what we're actually also seeing in the mainstream American food supply, at least in the center of most of our grocery stores. And most of the whole foods are to the outside. Meat, dairy, produce, and frozen is a lot of produce as well, but there's also some ultra processed foods over there. So he also mentioned 60% of the calories we get from ultra processed foods are ingredients that are toxins, basically leading to disease and bodily dysfunction in our bodies. So, wow. You know what, we're going to just take a walk here and look at the scenery a little bit. So, wow, what a lot of information to unpack. But I'm going to put a link to that video in the description and in the comments, and you can check that out. Paul Saladino, MD, and that one is the secret ingredient. What was it called again? Let me double check. McDonald's secret ingredient you never knew about. Okay, so you can look that one up. Now, I also had from the same channel, I'm going to turn the camera back around. Just inside there are our meat chickens. We'll get to see them before the end of the video. I'm also going to include links to 3 other videos from that same channel that I also had on my watch later list. Here's Tanner. Also had on my watch later list, and he is jumpy, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute after I mention these other 3 videos from that channel. But one is on picking out eggs at the grocery store, one is on picking out butter at the grocery store, and one is on contemplating lab produced versus naturally produced eggs. So very, very interesting material. You see Tanner looks like he's on alert, like his whole body from the tip of his nose to the tip of his tail is like he's got his radar going. Well, let me tell you what happened. This is the second time we're attempting to do this video. We attempted to do this video yesterday, and we were actually sitting right over here, and we ended up discovering, and I can actually, because I know what I'm looking for, I can actually see it from here. We ended up discovering that we had placed our chair, my chair that I was using to speak from, and Tanner was hanging out near me. We had placed the chair right over what I believe is a yellow jacket nest in the ground. So I don't know if y'all are perceiving any of it. I was going to try to actually give you a look at it, but where that bone is, right there, to the left of it, there's actually a hole in the ground, and it's active right now. There are yellow jackets going in and out of it. Can y'all see them? See all that activity right there? You probably can't see it great. That's as close as I'm going to get. But they are going in and out of that hole. So if you can imagine, I had actually set a chair right there yesterday. I had started the Watch It Later Wednesday video and was working through it, and we were getting like a little bit of a swarm from those yellow jackets. So we're probably going to have to take some preemptive measures to deal with them, because we are through here frequently, and so that actually can be kind of a safety risk for some of us here. So I don't think that the dogs were around me. I don't think that either of them got stung, but Tanner was really, really on radar about that whole situation. So, okay, so those will be the videos for Watch It Later Wednesday. 4 videos from the channel, Paul Saladino, MD. And I was going to tell you also about that channel. That channel itself has about 753,000 subscribers on it, and a lot of interesting video topics on there. So you might want to go to its about page and be able to look through the different videos offered on there. So going to go down here and show you a truck. So I think I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I intended to, that there's a new truck on the Happy Little Home Place, and it actually belongs to our middle son. So he had previously had a first generation Dodge, probably like early 90s is what it was, and he had to replace it about 10 months ago. So actually he replaced it with the truck on the right there. Okay, so that's probably a late 90s Dodge right there. So he had replaced it with that. Well, he's been wanting to get back into a first generation Dodge. Hi, Tanner. You're the cutest. So he'd been wanting to get back into a first gen Dodge, and he found one. So we made a trip to East Kentucky about a week, maybe a little over a week ago. He had found this truck, and we went over to take a look at it with him, and he decided to get it and bring it home. So he's really excited to be back in a first gen Dodge. And then in the meantime, it was almost comical. So our youngest son, and actually y'all, if you give me a few minutes, I might be able to change angles enough to give you a peek at the other truck that I'm going to mention. Yeah, I think I can. So beyond the flagpole is a white Dodge. So it's an early 2000s, okay? So our youngest son owns that white Dodge, okay? So in the meantime, while the middle son is looking at this truck, the youngest son says, well, I'm wanting to pick up a second truck. And so he says, hey brother, how about letting me buy the truck on the right over there? So they work out a deal on that. It kind of simultaneously overlapping while the middle son is acquiring this first gen Dodge. So this is his set of wheels now. He does want to do some projects on it. It's had actually some modifications to it with the previous owner, I believe. It got new paint, and I will end up telling you what color that paint is, but I'd be curious, as you're starting to see the truck, hear about it, I'd be curious to know what color you think it is, because the paint is a little bit special, and it's at first it's a little bit deceiving on what color it is. So at any rate, but the previous owner had done some modifications to it, and there's actually some things that our middle son is saying he wants to do to it, kind of with a restoration perspective, kind of put back to original. So, but he was really excited to get this grill. I think that is actually the grill that should be on that year truck. He was really excited to get that grill with the Dodge letters in it. They seem to be hard to find. So I don't know, even from this angle, it's kind of hard to tell. So I'll end up telling you what the paint color is. It's called, I think it's called Scarab Green. And so when we first saw pictures of it, pretty much all of us thought it was kind of a flat black, but it's not. It's a scarab green color is the color, and the previous owner told us that's actually a Volkswagen color. So the thing about this truck is, why I'm kind of sharing it on a Watch It Later Wednesday, for one thing, it's almost never here because he usually drives it to work. It's his daily driver. But today, the rest of the family is in London, Ohio at the Farm Science Review, and I had some farm appointments, so I couldn't join the family on that trip. It's probably the first one I've missed in 20 plus years with them. But they took off together in kind of the family small SUV vehicle, so the trucks are all home. The trucks are all home today. But my son and a friend of his, and they often include the other two brothers here. My son and my middle son and a friend of his have a small YouTube channel. I think they're calling it Backwoods Boys 911. So Wade did a video on this truck, just to walk around 3 or 4 minutes. So I'm actually going to include the link for that as well. So if you just like old trucks, I think that's one you might want to take a look at. So while we're here, so I'll put that link in the description and comments as well. While we're here, why don't we peek inside the barn? We'll show you how real good chicken is made. Tanner, you going to the barn with me? Tanner loves to go check the chickens. You ready, Tanner? You ready to go see the chickens? Check the barn? Here we go. Okay. So, here we go. So, if y'all had any doubt about how chicken, winter chicken dinner is made, right here is how it starts, grows, and finishes before it goes to a processor. At least this is one way you can produce real good chicken. Like I said, this is 433 Cornish Rock cross meat chickens. This group of chickens is 15 days old. They moved in to Twin Oaks Family Farm on September 4th, 2024. And that was what caused the stir. Tanner decided to go over the short wall and take a look at the chicken pen. The chickens will settle back down. We do allow our pets in our livestock areas. We're in and out of our livestock areas, so you know there's really not additional cross exposure for the livestock or for the pets from us allowing the pets to be around the livestock, because we're around the livestock significant amount of time. We're also around the pets considerable significant amount of time. So that's something here that is taken into account in our biosecurity practices that we have a tolerance for, and that is okay with us to allow the pets to be in the livestock areas. And they are good around the chickens, and they don't try to go after the chickens. So that has to be something you have to be mindful of. If you do have pets around your livestock, you know, you have to be mindful of if they're gentle around your livestock and how the livestock reacts to them. But so at any rate, so we were hitting the highlights on this flock, 433 Cornish Rock cross meat chickens, 15 days old. They were hatched September 4th, 2024. That's when they moved in here. And they will go to a USDA inspected processor for butchering and processing into custom order on October 14th, 2024. And these Cornish Rock cross meat chickens are really, really specifically bred for meat production. And I always liken it to designer dogs, where you had certain breeds combined to basically create a mixed breed or a hybrid that passes along certain traits, and so selective breeding. So that's what you have with Cornish Rock cross meat chickens. Basically, the genetics have been specialized through very selective breeding over multiple generations to set up a genetic scenario where what's getting passed on is the propensity for rapid growth and the propensity for efficient feed to meat conversion, in which the meat is distributed to primarily the chicken breast, but also to the drumsticks and the thighs. So that's what you're dealing with meat chickens. I can see that the chickens basically are not utilizing the heat lamps. So I'm going to actually be unplugging all those as we wrap up the video. A lot of the chickens are resting. They'll be very comfortable today with no heat lamps, and I'm going to also open up the back doors of the shed here of their building. So temperature wise, we're looking at about 85 degrees Fahrenheit is in our forecast, and that is a temperature that this age of meat chicken we'll be super comfortable with. And with having our barn doors open, we'll be able to have our building pretty much match the outdoor ambient temperature. So that's perfect. We know at about 2 weeks old, which they're, just about 15 days, we know that the ambient temperature that they want is right at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think they're going to be a happy bunch of birds today. Happy bunch of birds today. And so we're seeing more feathering on them, starting to see a little more maturity in their behavior. And that's what you're seeing right there, where we just had a couple sets of birds like kind of posture at each other, but then they don't fight. That doesn't escalate. They immediately just cease and desist, basically within seconds after posturing at each other. But that has a bit to do with the age they are and the growth. So as they grow, we see a little bit more of that posturing interaction, and it's probably very similar to any group of chickens. There's a pecking order among chickens, even among meat chickens. They establish some kind of relational interaction and relational order within the flock. So it's fun to watch them, but it's a lot of work to raise them. But we're able to produce real good chicken in about 6 weeks with Cornish Rock Cross meat chickens. Thanks for joining us, y'all. God bless you.